So just a quick introduction. I'm Suzanne Gibbon. I'm from Groundwork London. I'm here with Jenny Dunn, who's also from Groundwork, Vanessa Hammack, who's our cycling expert today, and will be giving you a really good interactive workshop. So Groundwork London are a social and environmental charity that work with individuals, communities to improve their environment, support greener living and working across the whole of London. And we're working alongside Cross River Partnerships to deliver this workshop as part of the Clean Air Villages project. And we've got Kate here from Cross River Partnerships who will introduce the project a bit more.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kate Fenton, Project Manager at Cross River Partnership, or CRP. So CRP is a public-private partnership, and Westminster City Council is our governing body, and we're a not-for-profit. So we were set up 26 years ago to project manage the building of the Millennium Bridge, and since then we've worked on a huge range of projects across London that make the city a nicer place to live, work and visit. We're a membership organisation, and our partners are made up of the public and private sector, which include 9 local authorities, 17 business organisations, which include Angel and South Bank Bid, and also strategic agencies such as TfL and the Greater London Authority. So CRP is currently running and delivering a range of projects across London, and the Clean Air Villages 3 project is why we are here today. So next slide, please. Thank you. So the Clean Air Villages 3 project, known as CAV, is a DEFRA-funded or central government-funded air quality project. CRP is delivering this air quality project with 16 partners, 12 local authorities and 4 business improvement districts. The aims of the one-year project are to engage with businesses, communities and hospitals in 16 air quality focus areas. So these are areas that have been targeted due to high levels of pollution, but also high footfall. And they're called villages because they all have their own local characteristics and therefore require tailored local solutions. It's a behaviour change project, and CRP implements a wide range of solutions and schemes on both the local level and across all the air quality focus areas. So next slide, please. Thank you. So activities that take place across the CAV project include, but aren't limited to, air quality monitoring and the production of clean air routes, traffic monitoring studies, vehicle telematics monitoring for businesses who are considering switching to an electric vehicle. We offer tailored one-to-one advice to businesses and organisations within these village areas that we're working in. We have also produced a local directory that lists businesses who deliver or provide services using zero or ultra low emission vehicles. And we've also been running a series of live shares or online webinars in addition to these workshops of Groundwork. And they've had professionals, industry professionals, and discussions about air quality and much, much more. But that's all for now, so thank you.
Thank you, Kate, for the quick introduction. So Jenny and I are just going to run through the key messages of active travel and the benefits, and sort of try and encourage you to become more active, and then we'll hand over to Vanessa, who's going to get into the nitty-gritty bits of cycling. So what is active travel? Active travel means getting from A to B using your own energy, whether that's by walking, jogging, cycling, wheeling, or even rollerblading. So there are a number of reasons why you should choose active travel rather than, say, getting in your car. And one of the key, most important reasons is air pollution. So air pollution is the release of particulate matter, such as dust, such small drops of liquid, and gases like carbon dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, carbon monoxide. And these impact the environment negatively and cause huge problems to human health. And road transport is one of the largest contributors to air pollution. And in London alone, air pollution contributes to around 9,400 early deaths a year and causes health problems such as asthma and many others. With many places in London actually in illegal limits at times of the year, depending on weather, choosing active travel rather than getting in a car actually helps to reduce these emissions, and so creates a nicer, cleaner and safer local environment for people to live and work in. A study a couple of years ago done by King's College University as part of the Healthy Air campaign actually found that people in cars were exposed to more air pollution by up to 6 times than someone cycling the same route or walking on a quieter parallel street to the same destination. And this is because the air pollution gets trapped inside the car with nowhere else to go. There's more information on this in the leaflet that we'll hand out after the workshop, if you are interested in reading up on it a bit further.
So active travel also has many health benefits. So as some of you know, or most of you kind of chosen in the poll at the beginning, that adults need to do, recommended to do 2.5 hours of physical activity a week. And active travel makes it easier to achieve this by working it into your existing routine. So I'm sure many of you are working from home right now, but in the future, this could be walking or cycling to work or taking your scooter on the school run. So the average commute is about 5 miles or less in London, which can be cycled in about 30 minutes. And adding exercise into your daily life reduces your risk of health issues like heart disease, and increases your mental health and well-being as it reduces stress and anxiety. So in the first lockdown last year, we saw that car use went down drastically, and air quality in London and around the world vastly improved temporarily. However, with the pandemic creating kind of rising concern over public transport use, cars are kind of being used more and more for kind of regular trips. And as Suzanne explained, you're actually kind of more exposed to air pollution in a car than you are on a bike right next door to it. So active travel is the healthier kind of choice, and it's being made easier through kind of initiatives like widening footpaths and pop-up cycle lanes. So if you've been hesitant before, now is the time to kind of get out on your bike and kind of get more confident, so that when we kind of go back to work or commuting again, that you're feeling, yeah, much more kind of confident and ready.
So another really great reason why you should choose active travel is that it saves time, it can save time and money, and it's a more reliable option. So relying on active travel also means that you can leave any time without worrying of missing a train or a bus or getting stuck in traffic. And it can get you from A to B faster than driving. Like I said, a lot of time is wasted in London getting stuck in traffic. So just a food for thought to consider even after this workshop, when you make that important trip down to the grocery store at the moment, or go for your daily exercise walk, is just have a look at how many people driving in the car is just one person in the car, and consider what environmental and health impacts that's having. But on a positive note, and a huge upside of active travel, is that it can also save you money on petrol if you would normally drive, public transport, but also as you're being active every day or every other day, you won't need to pay for a gym membership. So throughout this workshop, I hope you'll start to see that active travel doesn't have to be a difficult or challenging, or you don't have to become a hardcore enthusiast just to make those small steps on your active travel journey. Just sort of on a personal note, I started cycling to work a couple of years ago when I realized it could save me over £100 on a monthly, not getting a monthly train ticket. And although I'm not a hardcore enthusiast, I'm a nice weather cyclist. So that means when the clocks change in spring, I get my bike out and dust it off. My organization also offer an incentive for using my bike to go to meetings or work-related travel. And that helps contribute towards my maintenance costs. So it's something for employers to consider to encourage their employees to take up active travel.
So active travel is also really good for businesses. A report written by Living Streets found that people who travel to shops on foot or bike actually spend more time and money in the businesses compared to people who drive. Reducing road traffic and making streets friendlier to shoppers meant that retail sales increased by up to 30%. This was also seen in a study in Walthamstow, where they restricted the road traffic and saw a 43% increase in footfall. So more time spent in shops and less time worrying about traffic. During the pandemic, as the outdoor space available to businesses has increased to allow for social distancing measures, customers and businesses have benefited alike. Active travel also reduces absenteeism in the workplace. So if your employer encourages active travel, employees are actually less likely to take sick days and enjoy all the health benefits that we mentioned earlier. So next up, I'd now like to introduce Vanessa Hammack, who is a cycle instructor to run the next kind of part of our workshop. We're really happy to have you here, Vanessa. And she's worked for Cycle Confident and also the Bike Project.
Yes, thank you. And thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. I hope you can all hear me okay. Suzanne and Jenny, let me know if there are any problems. So we're going to do a true or false round, as it's a more sort of fun way to discuss cycling. So if you would like to unmute yourself and shout out true or false, do feel free, but no obligation. I will power on regardless anyway. So true or false, the Queen can ride a bike?
True.
Oh,
True.
excellent. Yep, that is completely correct. Okay. True or false, if you want to ride a cycle, you can try before you buy?
True.
True.
Yes, brilliant. Do you know any organisations you could try before you buy from?
No idea.
No, don't worry.
Pedal my wheels.
Yes, very good. Did you just see it flash up on the slide, or did you know already?
No, I did know.
Either way, it's the ingenuity I'm looking for. Yeah, Pedal My Wheels is available in quite a lot of boroughs in London, including Lambeth, Southwark and Islington. You can, typically they cost about £20 to £50, but that's for a really wide range of bikes, including e-bikes and cargo bikes. So if you were thinking that you might want to get a cargo bike, you can see there's a picture of one down at the bottom to ride around with your kids, but you want to try it first. It's a really, really good way of testing these things out. And there are other organisations as well, like there's a library in Hackney, there's loads of places you can find. Or if you are a health worker or you work for the NHS, you've got Wheels for Heroes, where you can borrow a Brompton bike and you can get free access to Santander bikes, which are £2 for 24 hours for the rest of us. Okay, next question. It is illegal to ride with more than one person on a cycle.
False.
Brilliant, Kate. You're paying attention, and that's what I like to see. As we just showed, we've got 3 people quite happily sitting on the same bicycle there. So there are loads of adaptations, which is great if you've got a family or a lazy partner. Okay, next slide. You can bring your bike with you on the train. It's a tricky one.
Depends.
Yeah, it depends, exactly. So I put true-ish. It seems like you guys are a variety of cyclists and public transport users, so I'm sure you're pretty au fait with this. So you can't carry a bike. Normally it's between 7:30 and 9:30 and 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. on weekdays, so rush hour. But it is worth bearing in mind that you can carry a bike often outside of those times. For longer journeys, you can normally reserve a space for your bicycle. The only problem is sometimes you have a problem if you do have a tricycle or a cargo bike or something like that. That can be a bit more difficult. You cannot carry on most tube lines, but you can carry on some. Particularly, it tends to be off-peak and if they're above ground. So it's worth checking, because sometimes you can do more with your bike than you think. And if you have a foldable bike like a Brompton, you can take them anytime, generally speaking. So there are definitely options if you want to combine trains with bikes. And parking at stations as well is often really good, which is another thing worth bearing in mind. You can get cycling lessons from a professional instructor for free. True or false?
True.
True, it is true. So I work with Cycle Confident, and we provide lessons in Southwark and Lambeth. I know Bikeability provide lessons in Islington. Wherever you live or wherever you're based, normally the best route to find free cycling lessons is through your local council website. If you just even type in free cycle lessons and the name of your local council, it will normally come up. Of course, this isn't available right now. Only since we've been in tier 4, since just before Christmas. For the rest of the lockdown, these cycling sessions were still running because they're one-on-one, and because you're outdoors. In the previous lockdown scenarios, they were considered safe. So it's worth bearing in mind if you do want to take these lessons. If you see that we start to move out of tier 4 and the lockdown lifts a little bit, I think cycle instructing will be one of the first things to come back. And so it's maybe really worth considering. In the meantime, there are some online resources that you can look at as well. And I really recommend the Cyclecraft Handbook, which is basically like the highway code for cycling, and it can just answer any questions. And if you sort of always wondered, like, am I doing that junction right? Should I be there with my bike or should I be there? It's the place you can go to look everything up. But there's so many resources online. I love the route finder for the National Cycle Network, which is at sustrans.org. That's great to find really attractive and quiet routes. Okay, next slide. You need to own secure storage space before you can get a cycle. True or false?
False.
Yes, it is false, because you can hire a space. So this is just one example from Cycle Hoop. Again, the way to do it is to go for your council. Now, Cycle Hoop build these little lockers that store 6 bikes all over London. But if you don't have one near you, and waiting lists can be quite long for them, you can request your council to build one, to get one put in. And the best way to do it is if you try and get a group of people to request together, and if you make quite a big fuss about it online, and copy your local councillors in as well, because that's quite a good way to get movement on this if you fancy having a bike but you've got nowhere to store it. Joe Biden's cycling is a potential security risk because he insists on cycling for 10 kilometres around Washington, DC every morning before work. True or false?
False.
False.
It is false, because he actually uses a Peloton, which have online classes, and it's the online classes that are the security risk. So it's a cyber security risk, not a physical security risk. Okay, true or false? You will not be legally classed as a cyclist by the police unless you own at least 6 pieces of lycra. Anyone hazard a guess?
Probably false.
Sorry,
I was thinking it would be true.
I'm afraid. No, it is false, of course. The reason I put that point in is I know sometimes people can be really put off of cycling because they think they have to wear lycra. And I'm a big advocate for getting used to the fact that I'm sure all of you are wearing outfits right now that you could cycle in. There are some people who wear modest clothing for religious reasons, who wear skirts. I love wearing a skirt to work, and I cycle in a skirt all the time. And I think it's really important to encourage people that we can just wear our normal clothes when we're going out on the bike. If you want any inspiration, I love Cycle and Jam. She's got a great blog, and she's got a really good blog post on modest clothing when you're that's suitable for cycling and how to adapt it. You can get cycling bloomers, and Discerning Cyclist, I think, has some nice gentleman's looks. So don't be put off by lycra, and don't put off other people either. Okay, is that it for the true or false? Oh no, one more. Disabled people are advised not to cycle. True or false?
False.
It is false, yes. And the reason I put this one in is because it can be harder to get access to wide enough cycle lanes, the different cycles that you might need. And actually, cycles can be an amazing mobility aid for people who have difficulty getting around. So some of the things that we can all bear in mind is that some cycles require more space to ride and park. So if you ran a cafe and you were putting tables and chairs out on the pavement, it's worth bearing in mind what space that you're leaving. Looking at your workplace, if you're in charge of cycle parking, there might be lots of bicycles, but is there room for a tricycle as well? And understanding as well, sometimes you might see a cyclist who's using the centre of the road and you think, why can't they get over a bit more to the side? It's not actually always possible for everybody to cycle on the camber. So bearing in mind, you might not be able to tell why someone's cycling in a certain way. A lot of disabled cyclists get told to dismount incorrectly in areas where they don't have to dismount, and it can make it really unpleasant for them. So it's just really worth being patient with anyone that you see on a bike, because you don't necessarily know if they can jump off just like that or not. There are a lot of people who find it a lot easier to cycle than they find it to walk. So you might think they're cycling inappropriately, but as long as they're being considerate of others, maybe that's okay. If you are interested in this specific area, Wheels for Wellbeing are an amazing organisation, and Bikeability, and they have different cycles that people can try who might not be able to balance on a bicycle, but they could try a tricycle or something like that instead. Okay, next. Oh yeah, magic medicine doesn't exist. True or false? False. Thank you guys for taking these questions very seriously and not answering them unless you're sure that you know the correct answer. It does, and it's called cycling, but you guys know that already. Magic medicine, it's I'm kind of paraphrasing Peter Walker, who talks a lot about activity, and I'm sure those of you who do occasionally walk or cycle to work know how much it can wake you up and get you in the right mood for a day's work. There are amazing statistics on how good, it's just that you're getting your heart rate going regularly. That's what the key is. And so if you build walking or cycling into your daily routine, you're getting that regular raising of your heartbeat, which is so good for you. As it can reduce your risk of cancer, heart disease, it helps with obesity, mental health, dementia. So in some ways, it's a magic medicine. Okay, so add up your scores and then throw them away because nobody really cares. You're not going to be judged on how you did on a true or false quiz. But now we've got time for the cryptic round. And I think because some of you are cyclists, I think you might be able to do this. Sorry, not some of you are cyclists because some of you do cycle. Can you spell bicycle with one letter? Okay, let me show you because it's a bit of an annoying trick thing, so I don't need to. It's an M, it's a letter M, which of course looks a bit like the frame of a bicycle. The reason I've put this in here is because this is a type of check that you can do on your bike quite regularly. And if you work through the letter M, so you just start down on the back wheel, where you'll be looking at the spokes, your tyres, and then come up to your seat post where you're looking at your lights and checking your brakes, and come back down to where you've got your gears and your chain, come back up and check your handlebars and your front wheel, and then come back down and check your front wheel. That's a really good standard check to just do on your bike quite regularly. And if all of those components are in order, your bike is going to be safe to ride. So we call that the M check. And you'll see when Dr. Bike come out, they often offer like a free M check, and that's what the M check is. The next one that you might hear about as well is an ABCD check. So this is a really good one to do when you know, if it's Monday morning and you've not been on your bike all weekend and you just want to check that everything's okay. Who can tell me? Oh, hey, Jenny. Who can tell me what A, B, C, and D stand for? Okay, yo, Hannah, go on, Hannah.
Air.
Brilliant.
Brakes.
Excellent.
Chain.
Brilliant.
D is stumping me at the moment.
D, yeah, it's a tricky one. D is direction. So we've got air, so obviously tyres, brakes, just give them both a squeeze and check they're both working. Chain, really you're just checking the rust, checking that it's fitted on the bike, and just keeping an eye on the rust. That's a good idea to do that quite regularly. Direction, handlebars, sometimes it doesn't happen that often in my experience, but handlebars can become a little bit loose. Or if you store a bike funny, you can knock them off and you can be on your bike and not notice and think, why is my steering off? So you just clamp it between your knees, stand in front of your bike and just check that it isn't loose. That's a really good check to do regularly. Okay. Oh, okay, everyone, we've done really, really well. You've done very well on the cryptic quizzes. You've done very well on the true or false. So now, I've got these agony aunt questions from, I don't know if you've heard of the famous London agony aunts, Betty Bankside and Izzy Lington. But we're going to go into some breakout rooms, and I will pop these questions into the chat. And I want you to have a go at answering these questions. I'm going to give you about 3 minutes to do so. Hopefully that should be enough time. And yeah, I just want you to try and come up with as many answers as you can to these questions. Does that sound straightforward? I popped them in the chat. Take a screenshot as well, maybe, and then you can have it to refer back to.
I think Vanessa might have frozen.
Teacher. Okay, so how did everyone get on? I'm so sorry that I didn't tell you exactly what group you were going to be in. But how did breakout room 1 go? Did you answer question number 1? Oh, brilliant. So that was, I want to cycle to work, but I work in zone 2 and live in zone 329. Is there any way I can incorporate some more cycling into my routine? What suggestions did you come up with?
So Abdel had some really great key suggestions from the start, is that they can use public transport in the middle, but they could cycle on one end of the other of their commute. Lovely. To make it more easy. He said also if and when we're back in normal kind of office times, they could use their cycle to meetings and stuff like that. So it's not necessarily part of the commute, but part of every day. The Brompton could be a good feasible option in terms of making it easier on them. And Teresa from NHS talked about how NHS employees can use the Santander bikes for free. And then again, we highlighted the importance of engaging with their employer to get them to encourage and promote cycling, parking, and kind of feasibility with facilities such as showers and potentially Santander use, etc., just to make it easier. So yeah, I think that summed up our reply.
Wow, that's brilliant. Well done. I think that's really, really good thinking. And that's definitely hit all the points that I would have thought of and some. And I think it's I think the great thing with cycling is it can be easier than what you're already doing. It's quicker than walking to the train station, or it's easier to park than driving to the train station. So sometimes even if you're just making one bit of your journey easier, it's well worth it. Well done, team 1, brilliant. Okay, who's the spokesperson for team 2?
That'll be me. So I was in a breakout room with Kate and Craig. So we went a bit off book because we did all 3 parts. So we just
my God, brilliant.
So maybe ours aren't in as much. Yeah. So the first one we just said similar to stop doing part of the journey by bike, and then if you're too far, then just take the rest of the way that's easier by public transport, or even using Santander bikes, for example. So you don't have to buy one. For team 2, so we said to either use a fold-up bike or find coat hanger. Try and get a place in a coat hanger or a cycle lock that he can put it in, or even like get really serious locks and insurance and just park it just outside.
Brilliant. I just, because not everyone might be aware, but question 2 was, I'll just read it out quickly. Dear Izzy Lington, I'm a hipster and I desperately want to get a cycle to complement my moustache and pork pie hair. The only problem is I currently live in a rented hat box in Angel with 17 art students. How can I make a cycle work with so little space? So yeah, having a cycle hanger, which is basically a type of lock that you have outdoors, or even just going with really, really secure locks and good insurance are possibilities. Sorry to interrupt you. I just thought not everyone might know what question you're answering.
So I'll leave team 3 to do the last bit so we don't Yeah.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so well, actually, I think I will be talking for team 3. I was with Hannah and Emily, and our question was, my colleague cycles to work but doesn't dress properly for it. She doesn't wear a helmet or leggings, and her dresses seem bulky and too long to be safe to me. She says she feels safe not wearing a helmet because the cycle lane goes door to door from her home to work, and she says she wouldn't cycle if she had to wear a helmet and leggings. It's her birthday coming up, so I want to get her some safety gear. What could I get, and should I confront her about the helmet and leggings? So for this question, Hannah very sensibly suggested that we get her a voucher so that she can pick whatever she wants in the shop, and pointed out that there are some alternatives to a helmet, such as reflective clothing, strong lights, and making sure she's done her maintenance checks on her bicycles will all help her keep safe. Me and Emily discussed whether it's a legal requirement to wear a helmet, and it is advised that you wear a helmet, but it isn't a legal requirement. And so this is my a bit of my tricky question that I put in, because I just think it's quite an interesting area of debate to me. Not everybody agrees. Some people are adamant that you must wear a helmet when you cycle, but some people are aware that it puts people off of cycling. And the reason I put that she cycles on a cycle lane is there is a philosophy that we should focus on providing safer space for cycling, because helmets only provide limited protection, whereas having a proper cycle lane provides really, really good protection for cyclists. So some people think we should put less emphasis on how the individual cyclist dresses and more emphasis on how the cycle infrastructure is. I put in about the leggings because, of course, not everybody can wear leggings. I've already for religious reasons, but also some people, if the person knows what they're doing and they know how to cycle in whatever they're wearing on a bike, sometimes it's worth letting them trust that, you know, themselves. It's definitely a moot point that people. So those are our solutions. I think everybody, but then team 2 answered every single question. So how do you pick a winner out of that? You can't. It's impossible. All right, well, I really enjoyed that. But maybe that's just because I'm really competitive and like quizzes. But and I also like being a quiz master. But thank you so much for joining me, everyone, and thank you so much for giving me all of your brilliant suggestions. I'll hand back to you, Suzanne. Thank you so much.
Vanessa.
Vanessa's given us loads of really useful cycling resources, and all of the ones she mentioned can all be found. The resources can be found on the flyer that we'll give you after this workshop as well. So keep an eye out for that. I just really wanted to highlight a really, really useful tool that Cross River Partnerships have actually developed and produced, called the Clean Air Route Finder. So I'm just going to share my screen quickly with you all, and show you my local area and a route that I would take. So I'm just going to share my screen quickly with you all, and show you my local area and a route that I would take. So this is the Clean Air Route Finder. It's a really useful tool. It's a bit like Google Maps, but instead of just giving you sort of the fastest route, it will show you the best route to take and the most polluted, the route, like the different sort of pollution exposure levels you'll have. So here you can see that there's a red, which is the highest amount of pollution. Green is the lowest, and it takes you through a nice park as well. And then the middle level of pollution is in the orange. It shows you sort of the how far it is, and how long it will take you to walk it. So that's a walking route. If I click on the bike, it will recalculate it to a cycling route as well. So as you can see there, again, going through the park is the lowest level of pollution. And actually on a bike, it takes you exactly the same amount of time. So if I was to go from A to B, I'd have a quick look at this and find the best route to take. So I think it's really, really useful. They've actually developed it for the different bid areas. So if I zoom all the way out and back into, so I'll just close this. So as you can see, all the different bid areas, and they're creating one for the South Bank bid and Angel bid as well. So that should be appearing soon. So keep an eye out for that. And it's a really nice sort of clean, well-being, clean air walking route that you can use. Let me stop sharing. But yeah, so I thought that was a really useful tool to highlight, and that the link to that tool is also found on the leaflet, but you can easily Google it. Just Google Cross River Partnerships Clean Air Route Finder, and that's a great tool to use. Just to highlight as well for employers as well as you know, we're all employees, is there's a cycle to work scheme. So for this scheme, you can, if your employer signs up to the scheme or registers for the scheme, then you can choose a bike that you want and actually slowly pay back your employer tax-free over a period of 12 months or more, depending on the agreement you have. And it means you can save up to 32% of the cost of the bike if you were to buy it a normal way. So if you got your eye on a really specialized bike, or even just like a simple bike, you can slowly pay it back, which means you don't have to commit to a full cost straight away. So that's a really great scheme just to highlight for you. On the bottom row, the getting from A to B, creating parklets, healthy streets, these are all really useful tools and resources that Cross River Partnerships have created. All the links are on the flyer that we'll send you. So if you're interested, just take a look and have a look for that. So in summary, it's never too late to get started. So just to overview what we've discussed, what is active travel? Means getting from A to B using your own energy. Why do it? Because it's good for your health, it's good for other people's health and your community, your wallet. It's proven to help businesses and increase footfall. And how? I mean, how start? Vanessa's highlighted so many useful ways of introducing cycling into your lives. Coming to this workshop is the first start, and then, you know, using those resources out there, taking small steps, speaking to your workplace. And we'd also, before you go, like to encourage you to make a pledge. So just a small pledge in how you can commit to your next active travel.
So we think that making a pledge, kind of writing something down, kind of sharing it maybe with us today and via the chat box is a really great way of kind of making a promise to yourself. It helps you kind of include some of these things in your routine and make them into habits maybe. And it can be a great way to kind of start, as we said, kind of making you feel kind of more confident on a bike, or kind of getting out there walking as part of your journeys and things, so that when we are kind of going back to the offices and commuting, that you are kind of feeling very confident and ready to do that. So just got a couple of minutes now. If you would like to, we'd love to hear some of your pledges in the chat box, or if you want to kind of unmute yourself and share those with us. Just have a couple of minutes to think and share your thoughts. So there's some ideas on the slide there, but Stav has already shared her pledge. So she says she'd like to dust off her bike and at least become a fair weather rider like Suzanne, which is nice. Yeah, we're already in February, guys. So yeah, we can do it. March is just around the corner. Any other pledges from anyone today? This will also be included in the e-leaflet that we're going to send you, so you can have a bit more time to think about it if you want. So Vanessa says, I pledge to get my bike out for exercise at least once a week. Yeah, I think I probably need to do that as well. Anybody else like to share their pledge? Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for coming today. If you do have any questions or comments or anything else or more pledges, please either write them in the chat box or unmute yourself. And yeah, if you've got any questions for Vanessa as well about cycling, now is your time to ask.
I had a question if the Clean Air Route Finder is an app that you can download, and I'm afraid it's not. So just to maybe have a look on the website before you head out, and sort of remember the route, or put the route into your Google Maps app and use that as a guide. But definitely would recommend using it. It's really great. Really easy to use on your phone as well.
I love some of these pledges that have come through, like to get a new bike. It's such a good time for that, and to motivate your family as well. I think that's so useful to try and encourage other people to get into it.
Thank you all. I mean, if no one has any more questions, please do feel to drop off whenever you're ready. But thank you for coming along, and continue on your active travel journey, just step by step, small steps.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.